Fantastic. Well done. You deserve it.
He's done it again! Oh, all sorts of problems there. Jenson Button wins in Monaco. Jenson Button's got through past Vettel.
This is Formula One.
Half in Northamptonshire, half in Buckinghamshire, totally in the heart of England, Silverstone, where once bombers laboured over tarmac, across farmland, the wartime airfield where giants clambered into the skies. In 1948, the beat of the engine changed. Flying machines gave way to flying machines, Maseratis now, not Wellingtons. And so began the Silverstone age of motor racing. Adventure playground at the international jet set. Life in the fastest lane, but in Middle England. All part of a great British tradition. Danger courted with understatement. High-speed drama greeted with a cheery wave. The spirit of flying lived on in the cockpit of Formula One. The speedometer raced ever upwards. Engine technology shrieked into the turbo era and pulled away on the other side. Drivers came and drivers went. Round and round they roared, and then they were no more, overtaken by the next generation, gone in a blur into history. Copse, Beckett's, Stowe, Club, Abbey, Bridge, Priory, Luffield, Woodcote. Turn the corners of Silverstone like the pages of its story. One more checkered flag, and another chapter is written. Where once there was a farm, an airfield. Where once, in the heart of England, the British Grand Prix had its home.
So, this track, the very place where Formula One was born, is set to lose its reason for being. But no Silverstone doesn't necessarily mean no British Grand Prix for these fans. We all know that Donington's waiting in the wings, but if they can't deliver, it now seems we could be stood right here in just 12 months' time. But that's a story for another day, though. Today, Silverstone is doing what it does best. Today, it's at the centre of the motorsport universe. And all eyes are on this former RAF airfield just off the A43 on the outskirts of Silverstone village. 62 years ago, a group of local enthusiasts got together and started racing here. Today, the famous turns of Beckett and Copse and the long drag of the Hangar Straight are the trademarks of one of the fastest circuits on the calendar. It remains a challenge as much as a relic, as Formula One embraces its future in places that seem far, far away from the lush countryside of Northamptonshire. The future seems to be the likes of Valencia, Singapore and Abu Dhabi, where the 2009 season will come to a close. And if this is it for Silverstone, they're not going to go out with a whimper, that's for sure. You can see the red arrows are above us. The crowds are in, 125,000 people packed into Silverstone. for the 2009 British Grand Prix, and welcome to our coverage live back on the BBC for the first time in a long time. And David Coulthard and Eddie Jordan are with us as always, and it is only the 8th race of the season, Eddie, but it already feels like we've sort of packed an entire season's worth of headlines and intrigue and game playing into just the last few months.
Well, the first thing is that we've seen the pecking order completely change. The demise, you could say, of Ferrari and indeed McLaren, and the emergence of two great new stars, which is Red Bull and, of course, Brawn. Then we've been engulfed with this political drama, which none of us are very happy about, but at the end of the day, there's no such thing as bad publicity. Or, sorry, I should say, there's always good publicity out of headlines such like that. And so I'm optimistic for the future, and I think there is renewed optimism for the future of the Formula One going forward. OK, David, loads of politics, but there is, of course, a tipping point. We're all here for the racing, and what a place to get back to sort of the story that F1 should be about.
Yeah, this is where it all began 60 years ago, and it's a great Grand Prix circuit, and you can see with all the fans that have come here today to see the drivers battle out on track. You know, there's really special atmosphere here at Silverstone, and so much of the foundations of Formula One has been built on British soil, so great to be here for Silverstone this weekend. Absolutely, great to be sharing it with so many fans, and they're really here for one man and one man only this year. Last year, of course, it was Lewis Hamilton. This year it seems to be Jenson Button that everybody's talking about, and here's why. If we take a look at the championship standings as they are going into today's race, and you can see that the remarkable story of a certain Jenson Button makes this kind of obsession with politics and power even more absurd, doesn't it? He arrives here as the man to beat. Certainly his teammate Rubens Barrichello and the Red Bull drivers Mark Webber and Sebastian Vettel need to do that sooner rather than later to keep their hopes alive. Take a look down there at 9th and 10th spot. Two former world champions, and the current world champion doesn't even make the top 10. Lewis Hamilton sits in 11th place. He too has got 9 points, and with every passing weekend the struggle to even sort of match Brawn GP is looking futile. If Jenson's impressive, his team are imperious. No one can touch them. Red Bull, they sit second. They now need to score 4 points more than their rivals at every race from now on to finish first, and it really has kind of just become damage limitation for the likes of BMW, Ferrari and McLaren. Now then, I promise you, our build-up is going to be dominated by on-track activities here at the British Grand Prix. Coming up very shortly, we've got a Lewis Hamilton exclusive. We'll also be soaking up all of the fantastic atmosphere as the race approaches. But of course, it would be a little remiss of us to ignore the political firestorm that's really engulfed the British Grand Prix over the past 48 hours. But the big players have spoken. They have spoken to us. And these are the main thoughts from Bernie Ecclestone and Max Mosley in the past couple of days.
Some of the teams want to take over the whole financial side from Bernie, from commercial rights holder, and also the regulatory side from us. They feel they would like to run the whole of Formula One, and quite obviously we don't agree. Even then, we have a meeting with them, for example, on the 11th of June, agreed everything with Red Bull, Ross Brawn, Ferrari, and even Toyota there. And then when they got back to the office, the others, what we call the loonies, tore it up. And so you spend the whole day agreeing something, and then they say, but we don't agree afterwards, even though 4 of the teams were there. Well, there's one particular individual who fancies himself as the Bernie. Now, whether he could actually do the job or not, I don't know. But
Tell us who that is.
I think Flavio Briatore sees himself as the Bernie.
Does Flavio Briatore slip into the group that you refer to as the loonies?
I should think he's associated with them. The next step that we're going to take, because trying to take something which isn't yours is not really in accordance with the law. So next week we will be issuing legal proceedings against Ferrari and also against FOTA.
At the moment we have the federation, we have people like us that's running all the commercial side, and we have all the teams that are involved in the championship. And that's how it should stay. In the end, people will have enough sense not to bust all this business up for what? For basically nothing. People are complaining and saying, well, Max shouldn't be, we should get rid of Max. We can't. They don't understand. Nobody can get rid of Max. He's the president of the FIA, and there's 122 votes throughout the world that will vote what they think, whether Max should be there or not. He's got on a trip at the moment, which he's sort of campaigning for, which is difficult for people to understand what he's all started. He wanted to find ways of saving money for the team so they didn't go out of business. And there seems to be some objection to that. And I mean, I sympathise with him in a lot of ways. They say nobody should tell us how to spend our money. We know what to do. And I say, provided they commit to the championship for at least 5 years, we should spend what they like.
And you think he's still the right man to be the president of the FIA?
He's the guy that at the moment is the president of the FIA, and he'll be there until he decides to leave.
Well, certainly Max Mosley's got no intention of going anywhere at the moment. He's been here today, he's been here all weekend long, and he's certainly making his presence felt in the paddock. You can see this is Max here today. I know it's kind of hard to try and work out which one he is amongst all that, but you can just about see him in the middle there. Cameras, microphones, everybody wants a word with Max Mosley, and I can tell you that we're hoping he's going to join us live here. You've already heard what he had to say there. We'll find out exactly how things have developed from his perspective over the past couple of days. So hopefully we will be joined by Max very shortly. But now we're joined by John Howard of Toyota, also the Vice President of FOTA. John, we're very keen to speak to a team principal over this weekend, particularly one so heavily involved with FOTA as yourself. First of all, I suppose, Max's thoughts that some of the teams should be described as loonies. What was your take when you heard that?
I think unnecessary and unhelpful.
OK, so let's move this forwards. Where does this take things from here? FOTA have come into the weekend saying this is our position, we're going to form a breakaway. The FIA have said they're going to take Ferrari to court and talk about what else they can do. Are you still saying that FOTA have made their position clear and then they're not planning to make any changes to what they want from this?
Yes, I think the statement we made on Thursday was the result of going as far as we could in terms of concessions. And I think it's unambiguous and clear. And really the rest of us here are now looking for a great race this afternoon at Silverstone, one of the great racing tracks of the world, and we just wait to see what happens in the coming weeks, but nothing more to say.
What do you think is going to happen in the coming weeks?
Well, I think if you look at the overwhelming public support we've had from our position, I think there needs to be significant movement from the Federation and to some extent from the commercial rights holder. I don't believe anything that FOTA is asking for is unreasonable. It's not about power, it's not about personalities. It's about organising the actual sport in a structured way which stops this type of mess happening in the future.
John, if I may ask you a question, please. We spoke to Bernie Ecclestone yesterday, and he thought that there was a sense of renewed optimism. Do you see that? Because I did ask him the question that he could be the pawnbroker in all of this. Is that how you would view his position?
Well, I'm very optimistic, but I'm not sure that it's the same optimism. But I believe we just want to retain the best drivers in the best cars and have absolutely the best motorsport series in the world. And we're not objecting to working with the FIA at all. But we have to stop the irrelevant governance, if you like, or improper governance that's been going on for 2 or 3 years. If that's guaranteed, I don't believe there are problems. But so far, that is severely missing.
Well, clearly this means that Toyota are committed to this for the longer term. Can you tell us exactly what you've been told from Japan? How long are they committed to Formula One in whatever form it takes?
Well, we're committed to the end of 2012. I think I have to re-emphasize for major companies, they want to participate in a sport. They don't want to participate in public political games, and they want professional governance. We are bound now as big corporations very tightly in this sort of environment, and it's not an unreasonable expectation.
OK, John, thank you very much for taking the time on what is, I know, a very busy weekend for you.
Yeah,
Thanks very much
thank
indeed.
Let's have a great race.
See Timo Glock getting ready to jump into his car just behind us here. Do you want to find out where Timo Glock's going to be starting on the grid? Well, we can do just that and let you know who's on pole as well. It was an incredible qualifying session yesterday in front of over 100,000 fans here at Silverstone. And here's who won the first set of bragging rights for this British Grand Prix weekend.
Jenson Button's been looking forward to racing at Silverstone all season, but it was actually the Great British Summer that would deprive him of pole position. The Brawn doesn't work its tyres as well as the Red Bull in cold conditions, and the old airfield of Silverstone has been as chilly and blustering as ever this weekend. The nation expected rather less from Lewis Hamilton, and he duly dropped out in the first session. Not even a tame racing driver could do better with that McLaren.
I gave it my all, and there was nothing, not really much more I could have gotten from it, but I was pushing on that lap, but it was nothing special, it was miles off.
The session had to be stopped after Adrian Sutill's Force India suffered brake failure at the Abbey chicane. The crash left him shaken up, but otherwise unhurt, and Suttill is fit to race today. Meanwhile, for Jenson Button, this weekend has become all about limiting the damage to his championship lead. He's struggled to find grip at the race he most wants to win.
I just felt like I was skating around. I've really struggled with the car here, and I don't know why. It's quite a different car to drive than what I had in Turkey.
So it was left to Red Bull to take advantage of a much improved car here. Mark Webber lost time on his final run when he felt Kimi Räikkönen blocked him on the hangar straight.
I thought, go right, please go right, and he stayed left and stayed on the line, so I had to compromise my line on the way into Stowe. So my rhythm was very much compromised.
Webber's misfortune let Rubens Barrichello in to secure an unexpected second on the grid, while Sebastian Vettel grasped pole for the second race in a row in what's now the fastest car in Formula One.
The lap was very close to perfect. I was able to use the tyres when I needed to, and therefore I'm very pleased with the result. I mean, I think we should be quite happy looking at who is surrounding us.
So Sebastian Vettel's championship charge starts with pole at Silverstone. Barrichello is Brawn's best hope. Webber and Jarno Trulli on road 2, Kazuki Nakajima career best 5th, Jenson Button only 6th. Rosberg, Glock, Raikkonen and Alonso make up the top 10. Another bad weekend for BMW, only 12th and 15th, but it's even worse for last year's winner Lewis Hamilton, who's on the back row of the grid for his home race. Adrian Sutil starts from the pit lane in a brand new Force India car and engine.
The sun is out, less than 34 minutes to go to the British Grand Prix, and this is the car that will be on pole today, Sebastian Vettel's Red Bull. Now, if you miss anything from today, you can always make use of the BBC iPlayer later on this evening. All the build-up, all the race will be on there, and I think there'll be quite a few fans here getting home and making use of that. And talking of fans, Lee McKenzie's been out there to meet a few. Let's find out where she is. Lee.
This is one of the best turns in the world of motorsport. Cox, or turn 1, is the first challenge for the drivers here at Silverstone. The atmosphere, as you can see, is electric. These are the best seats in the house. The view here hasn't changed since the first Grand Prix at Silverstone 60 years ago. It doesn't matter whether you support Lewis Hamilton or Jenson Button.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you very much, Lee. Now then, I'm sure lots of these fans are hoping that Jenson Button can do something pretty amazing here this weekend. Well, yesterday I got the chance to do something pretty amazing. You may have seen it on the television when I scared a certain Jenson Button. However, what about Lewis Hamilton? In a car worth a little bit more money, and of course, a world champion who's also worth an awful lot as well. It's been a season to forget so far this season, hasn't it, for Lewis Hamilton? He came into the season with great hopes. He finally got the number 1 on his car. I remember talking to him at the McLaren Technology Centre, and he was saying, the one thing I want to do this season is enjoy being the world champion. Well, they had the launch, the car looked great, and everybody thought it would be all nice and rosy for McLaren. Well, it hasn't turned out that way, has it? First of all, in Australia, there was all of those disasters, and since then, things just haven't happened. The car just isn't developing, and Lewis is having to work overtime. Well, he certainly had to work overtime when he got me behind the wheel of a rather expensive car as well. And here's what happened.
Fast cars, Lewis Hamilton, Silverstone. It had to be raining, didn't it?
Exactly the same weather as we had last year. It's one of the trickiest circuits, especially in the weather, I've ever driven on. So. We should just take it easy, and what we'll do is I'll just show you how you go about doing a wet lap. This is the SLR 722 with top speed of 220 miles an hour.
Oh, look at those gull wings.
Gull wing doors.
And it has a boot as well, which is handy.
So, going up to cops here, you've got to stay off the white lines. If you get anywhere near these white lines, the back end will snap out.
How does this visibility we've got now compare to an F1 car?
It's a lot worse than a Formula 1 car.
Really?
Yeah, because we don't have windscreen wipers, but...
Turn those off for a couple of seconds and tell me at what point this is like an F1 car.
Like this.
No.
Yeah.
You can't see a thing.
It's really hard to see.
What is it about you that makes you so much better than everybody else in the rain, you think?
It's totally feel. It's really just about feeling, and see the rear wheels look up there?
Yeah. Driving in the wet, something that you can sort of teach people. Whoa, Lewis! Is your heart beating faster now?
No, not really.
This still feels so quick to me in the rain.
Oh, look understeer, it's sliding.
Whoa! Oh. Right, do you mind if I just keep my eyes closed for the rest of it?
I'm going in right now, so
All right, Lewis, final chance. Are you sure this is okay?
Yeah, let's rock it.
Let's put it in drive first.
Yeah, let's put it in gear first. There you go, there's car slide. Nice. But don't move your hands on the steering wheel. Hold your hands here.
Yeah,
okay. The thing about these corners is about doing it with as little turning as possible. See, it's still turning too much. You want to kind of do it with less turning now. See what I mean? And then it's flowing. Now you can give it a bit more throttle. Brake. Oh, we're going off. Oh, we saved it. You didn't do bad at all. You know what I'd say is that he goes into the corners not even knowing the speed going in. That's the same as me. Ever since I was a kid, I used to bowl into these corners, and sometimes you go off, sometimes you don't. But when you do, you just back up a little bit, and eventually you find the limit.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Jensen might have the better car at the moment, but I tell you, you are the better passenger by a very, very long way.
And you accelerate and you turn left. Keep going. There you go. That's a donut.
It's my first ever donut, and I'm doing it with the current Formula 1 world champion. There's a wall there, I must remember that.
Clearly relaxed, but completely unaware of the danger.
And I guess sometimes being unaware of the danger is probably a good thing. And from one world champion to another one, I'm here with Damon Hill. Damon, the 1994 winner. I would sort of say happy memories coming back to Silverstone, but you must spend half of your life at this circuit, I suppose.
I think I've been to Silverstone more times since I stopped racing than when I was racing, but it's been all in a good cause. As you can see, we've had a fantastic turnout, the crowd are enormous, and it shows how much feeling there is for this sport in this country.
Now let's talk about Silverstone and Silverstone's future. I don't know whether you were watching our output yesterday when Bernie Eccleston announced that if Donington isn't ready, it will return here to Silverstone. Did that take you and the BIDC, who look after this circuit, by surprise?
Well, it does surprise us a little bit, but we know that at the moment there's quite a lot of things are in flux, and we're very, very keen that everything we've tried to do here at Silverstone has an opportunity of coming to fruition, because we've got great plans for Silverstone. And it's got the space, it's got the experience and the professionalism to deliver the venue that this country deserves.
What do you think changed Bernie Eccleston's mind? Because he's not a man who has his mind changed easily, is he?
But ultimately, we hope that sense will prevail, and that if we get the investment that is needed in the infrastructure of the sport, which includes the circuits, then I think that everyone can benefit.
OK, well, you can probably hear that the pit lane is open, the cars are making their way out onto the circuit, and Max Mosley has joined us again. Max, wonderful to see you once again. We were just discussing sort of reconciliation here with Damon, the positive news of having Silverstone keeping hold of the Grand Prix if Donington isn't ready. It feels like there's a very positive air around the circuit this weekend. Tell us what you think of the atmosphere since what was really a huge firestorm of politics at the start of the weekend.
Well, it's definitely getting better, but of course all these things take time. The problem is we've got 8 teams in the sort of photo group, and some of them want to sit down and sort things out quickly, some don't, but no doubt eventually they'll all come.
OK, have you been spending time talking to various members of photo and gauging the temperature from them at the moment?
Yeah, directly and indirectly, absolutely, yes.
And what are their thoughts? We spoke to John Howard early on. He was saying that really, as far as he's concerned, they're still pushing on with plans for a breakaway. And it felt very much like if there is going to be movement, it needs to come from the FIA and not from VOTA.
Well, the thing is that he tends to be a little bit on the extreme wing, but the thing is that we've now, I think, reached a point where the only thing that's separating us is somebody sitting down and agreeing the actual mechanism of the cost reduction, or the resource restriction, as they like to call it, and really that's very minimal.
OK, so as far as you're concerned, the two sides are getting close. Can we read that into what you just said?
Oh, yeah, no, closer and closer. But really, I think if everybody wants to find a settlement, do it very, very quickly. The difficulty is getting all 8 of them to want a settlement. Some do, some don't, but we just have to be patient.
And Damon, if there's one thing that we don't want in Formula 1, it's a breakaway or 2-tier racing.
No, I think that the conundrum over splitting the prize that really is everyone together, that would be disastrous. We don't want to have a breakaway or split up, no.
OK, Damon doesn't want one. It seems that the fans don't want one. Let's hope it doesn't happen, Max.
I'm absolutely certain it won't. But of course, There's a little bit of time before 2010, so if people want to go on arguing, they can, but I don't think they will much longer.
Yes, they've got to design their cars at some point as well, though. Thank you very much. Great to chat to you, Damon. Thank you for spending your time with us. And who knows, maybe it will be Silverstone in 12 months' time. We'll have to wait and see about that. One thing, though, that is for sure, is that today the drivers are making their way out to the grid. They're, I suppose you'd say, the true heroes of Formula One, but they're backed up by an incredible team who have to have the perfect race as well if they're going to win a race. Here's Martin.
Pit stops are part of motor racing history. Against the relentless stopwatch, time is critical, pressure is high. Mistakes are easily made. Force India have a team of 26 men awaiting their Formula One car. The Lollipop Man, 3 on the jacks, 2 team members for starter motor and pneumatic refill, plus firemen and emergency crew for the fuel rig Dead Man's Handle. 4 on the wheel guns. 4 men take the wheels off. 4 more put fresh tyres back on. 2 refuelers plus 2 more for the backup fuel rig. Pit stop crews are well aware they can win or lose races.
When the car's coming towards me, hopefully he's going to stop on the mark.
It's quite simple, but it can go wrong.
You have just a few seconds to react.
Keep out of the way of the front wing and then get on with your job.
You've got to concentrate solely on your corner.
You are fully focused on your one job.
Second nature. We practice it so much, it has to be second nature.
The Lollipop Man, silly name, serious job. He guides the driver to his garage, advises when to select first gear, and then he must release the car at exactly the right point, unlike this Ferrari Schumacher pit stop. The fuel men need to be like rugby players. The fuel-laden hoses are very heavy. They must attach the nozzle accurately, then push through the valve. It's high-quality road car petrol, including 5% biofuel, flowing at 12 litres per second. That's a lot of fuel, and if it goes wrong, it goes horribly wrong. Hot racing cars and fresh fuel shouldn't mix. A fireman stands by. The front jackman sometimes risks his legs to stop the car, and using a manual jack against the front wing, he lifts in unison with the rear jackman. They have blind faith that the driver will stop, occasionally misplaced. A third side jack is used to stabilise the car, or if they need to change the front wing when it's damaged. To change the nose and wing section, the crew move around. 2 men leave front wheel duties and become the wingmen, taking just 12 seconds and using 2 captive bolts. The gunmen are waiting on one knee with compressed air gun and brake cooling spinner ready. They need the driver to stop on his mark, so the wheel nut is directly in front of them, and the frantic work begins. Sometimes the wheel nut won't go on, and sometimes the wheels won't stay on. 4 men are ready to take the very hot wheels off. 4 more men put the fresh wheels and tyres on. It gets terribly disappointing when only 3 turn up. A great pit stop is a perfect display of human and mechanical harmony, where every second is precious and the driver's safety is at stake. Fangio had the luxury of being out of his car for over a minute while 2 mechanics serviced it. Now, 26 men get the job done in less than 10 seconds.